Hey, in this video, I want to look at a few other formulas and functions that we can use in Excel. In video 1, or in an earlier video, we saw how to use the sum feature. I want to show you now how to use the average feature and maybe a couple more. So let's look at our data set. And suppose we want to know what is the average age of the participant. So this is foot and height, and we collected the age of the individuals as well. So down here, we often will provide the average at the very bottom. So maybe I can make a column here and call it, or a row, call this average. Okay. So there's several ways you can do this. I mean, we know what the mean is the average within Excel. So we are going to find the mean. We could, add these up and divide by the total number that we have here, right? So it looks like we have 40 different units here. So I could just add those up. I could sum and then divide by 40. So we always use the equals when we're getting ready to do a formula. So we can say equals sum, and then we can just sum this up. So I can put in the cells. Usually I just end up dragging, and then close my parentheses. And if I just summed it, that's the sum of the age. I don't want the sum, right? I need to be able to find the average, so I can divide that by 40. And there we go. But as you would expect, there's actually a slightly easier way to do the average, right? We can use the average function in Excel. So equals average. Do the same thing. I'm going to highlight that range of cells. And notice we get exactly the same thing using my average. Okay. Also notice this is what I have up here. You will find yourself often glancing up here when you're clicking around in the cell to see what is in that cell. So it says 35.725, but really that's a formula. So we're finding the average of those. So if you happen to have made a mistake, and maybe that 58 was supposed to be a 48, notice what happens. It changes. It's a dynamic formula. So whatever's in there is going to change. I'll undo that, Control Z. Now, suppose I wanted to find the average of all of these, which is very common. We want to find all these. I don't have to retype that formula every time, right? I could, but I can take that, I can Control C, and I can paste that formula here. Notice what it's doing. If I highlight this, it's the average of C2. It knows that that's what I wanted to copy. Now, there's actually a slightly easier way. I highlight that cell. This is the formula I want to copy. Notice when I roll my mouse over here, that I get that little plus sign. I can drag this over and it'll copy that same formula to each of these cells. There we go. So now I found the average, and maybe I want to make all these bold just so it sort of stands out. It's not just an ordinary data point. Notice here's something else. As things are just kind of coming up, I'm going ahead and showing you how to do it. I do not like that this here has 3 decimal places and everything else just has 1. So maybe I want to highlight these and say, just give me 2 decimals on all these. So I can decrease the decimals down to 2. Or for the age, maybe I only want that one to have 1 decimal. Usually we go 1 more decimal than our data with the average. So suppose I wanted to find the median. The median is another common measure we've been looking at here in the class. Okay, so we can start typing, need to put equals median, and notice there's my function right there. Now if you ever don't know what something's called, when you come up here to the ribbon, here's my formulas. I have some common ones here. I can look at more functions, and I can type in median, and a lot of different functions come up. Median is the one that I want, though. Right, and then I can select my list. So it looks like I already had the word median in there, so I didn't like that. So let me remove this spot right here. There we go. And so there's the median of that, and maybe I want the medians for all of them. Just drag it out. And I can make that bold as well. Again, we're not going to explore all these, but just know that you have almost all the same functions that we had in StatCrunch you can do here. When you go to More Functions and Statistical, here they are. So when we're computing different tests, finding maxes, means, the Pearson correlation coefficient, normal distribution, it's all in here. It's just not as intuitive on how to access it as it is in StatCrunch. I mean, StatCrunch is intended to as a statistical program, whereas Excel is intended for so much more, and it has statistical capabilities. Okay, let me look at one more, maybe standard deviation. Okay, so I can go over here to More Functions, Statistical, and standard deviation. We have standard deviation S, and that's for a sample. Standard deviation P is for population. We almost always use standard deviation S, so use that one. And then we can select our data range and just press enter. And there we go. So let's go ahead and decrease my decimal points on that. And then if I want it for all of them, I just drag it out. Okay, so there's my standard deviation for each of those data sets. Now, one thing you got to be careful about, sometimes it'll automatically select a all the way down, and we didn't want it on that one. It didn't, but I think my median did. Notice when I click in here, so I don't want that. I actually want it to go, because it's recording the average in my median. So I actually want it to go down just to B41. So I can change that to a 1. So just be careful on that, and I need to actually recopy that formula over. Notice really a lot of things didn't change very much because the median is a robust statistic. It's sort of resistant to outliers. So adding one more value in, that was actually the mean, probably is not going to affect the median too much. So another little learning moment there as well. I hope that helps. It's an easy way to find different statistical values along with any other value. You can kind of explore different functions here that you can utilize in Excel.